How are you doing? What did I do? Good morning. Hey JMB, how are you doing? Hey Nick, good to see you again. It's Friday. We'll give it a couple of minutes before we get started. Hey Val, good morning. How are you doing? Feeling a little unfocused after a night with friends trading today, unless that's a very good idea, JMB. Very good idea. I don't looking at the way things are right now, I'm not sure whether it's going to. Yeah, I don't think there will be much obvious opportunities coming out. So a rest might be a good idea. I'm very well, Val. Thank you for that, but I'm very well. More, it's better that I'm doing this than anything else. Hey, soon, last day of June and half the year closing market so choppy. Market is super choppy. I've only had a couple of trades this week, so haven't been doing too many trades either. Good morning, Aslam. 2 more minutes and we shall get started. Hey, Angel Case, how are you doing? Hey, Goju, good morning. My best trade from 2018. That's a long, long time. Good afternoon, Edson. Hope you guys have a lot planned for the weekend. Brand new month into the weekend. Well, we're all thinking, we're all hoping, we're all awaiting for an intervention from the Bank of Japan. It would be nice if they do intervene while we're talking so that we can trade and look at it together, but I think it might be a while more before we do see an intervention from the Bank of Japan. It will come as a bit of a surprise to most people, the intervention. I don't think they will preempt, so just stay tuned, watch out, be ready. Most likely you will not be able to catch the intervention, but it's possibly the opportunities after the intervention that's going to be uh, more attractive rather than the intervention itself. Okay, so straight and let's get started. Good to go, good to go. All right, so let's get started. Again, thank you all for joining me on this daily market analysis. We are on the last day of the week. We are heading into the second half of the year. So I hope the first half has been good to you. Hopefully the second half will be even better, right? Whatever the first half was, that's past, that's done and dusted. Let's look forward to a better second half towards 2024, right? New year after this next 6 months. So with that, if you are new to this session, I do see a few new names. Do drop it into the chat. Let me know where are you joining me from. I would always like to find out. And for all the regulars, welcome back. Thank you for joining me on this daily market analysis. What we do here, we look at the fundamentals, we look at technicals, we look at trade setups, possibly not a lot of setups sometimes, especially today. I think we might see a bit of a consolidation, but we never know. So we look at the charts. If you do have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to put it into the chat. Let me know. Any particular pairs you'd like me to explain more, I'll be happy to do that as well. Okay. One more thing is, do help me out. Click that like and subscribe button on YouTube, TradingView, Trading Live, wherever you are watching from. Help me out with that. Gets more people, hopefully gets more people watching this stream. Okay, the link is there as well for you guys. If you haven't already, do join the Discord channel so that we can take our discussions beyond this 1 hour session. And also I will be, for all of you who are already on the Discord channel, watch out for a room or a chat or something that I'm going to be creating. You want to watch out for that. Something a little bit new, a little bit interesting there. Okay. Hey Robbie, how are you doing? Good morning, Booba. So with that quick disclaimer, any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as educational material. The contents of this webinar is not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product, so please do your own due diligence. Your objectives, financial situation, and needs has not been considered, and you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances. Okay, I possibly think that today we might not have too much to talk about. So let's see how we go. Might be a bit of a short and sharp session. So looking at the news, right? Looking at the news from yesterday, right? Looking at the news from yesterday, we did have all that. We had the final GDP for the US, a little bit surprising. It went from a 1.3, expected a small increase to 1.4, but it got released at a 2%, right? Got released at a 2%. This was at 8:30 GMT plus 8. Unemployment claims, despite it being a weekly number, also had a good number from 265K, expected not much change at 264, came out at 239. So what you see here, right, relatively good, especially the GDP number, relatively good for the US. What we saw on the charts at that time, 8:30, because of a good, strong, a lot better than expected GDP number, we saw the dollar index push to the upside. Right, it was trading along our plan. I stopped watching wrong there. I know I'm going to change this, but I just have to change that now. Right, we were watching for a reaction at 102.80. If broken, could trade down to 102.40. It was at that point. It did come down all the way through to 7 o'clock GMT plus 8. Tested that level, failed to break. So it failed to break, didn't break, and it bounced because of the news to push up towards this now resistance level of 103.40. Okay, so it pushed up, came back down, tested that trend line again, and now pushed back. Now looks like it's pushing back up. So the question here is not whether it's going to break down. We can take all of these lines away. The question now is whether it's going to break out of this to the upside. Okay, so that was the news from last night. Good morning, Jamil. How are you doing? With that, then looking into today, a whole bunch of news didn't move prices too much. Right, later when we scroll through the other currency pairs, you see that prices has pretty much been sitting in a little bit of a consolidation. Only started moving at 2 p.m. about an hour ago at 2 p.m. Right, as the dollar, you can see, was consolidating, now looking like it's pushing back up. Okay, so been a very quiet morning, just been sitting right across, and that looking at the Kiwi dollar, right, was sitting right across, only started moving up over the last hour. Aussie dollar as well, or moving down. USD Yen, all pretty much sitting in consolidation, only starting to move right now. Okay, so we look into that. We do have in just about 2 hours time, the Euro CPI flash estimate was 6.1%, expected 5.6%. Okay, core CPI flash estimate 5.3, slight increase to a 5.5. So I think that we might see this drop. I'm actually thinking we might go to a 5.5, but that's not going to change the view. I think that the ECB is still going to maintain with its current projections or current decisions in terms of its policy path. So this CPI flash estimate will possibly have some impact, but brief, right? Some brief impact. I don't think it's going to change prices in reverse the direction of the current trend. Then on to tonight, ending the week, we do have the GDP month to month for the Canadians was 0, expected 0.2, might come out at that. I think we might see some strength, but the main focus, I think this will be eclipsed by the US core PCE price index. Okay, it was month to month, it was 0.4, expected a 0.3%. So if it does get released at that 0.3%, I think it's going to signal that inflation growth in the US is slowing down. All right, and you can see core PCE price index is the Fed Reserve's primary inflation measure. Okay, so it's going to signal that inflation in the US is slowing down, partially supporting the Fed's view or the Fed's cumulative action of having increased rates. It is possibly also going to offset the recent upward climb in the dollar index following Fed Chair Powell's comments about 2 more rate hikes to come, about policy not having been restrictive for very long. But I think that because this is a month-to-month number, we might see some retracement, but overall a continuation on the dollar index, possibly to the upside. Okay, so we'll look out for that, and then we'll end off the week. Consumer sentiment not going to do too much, and nothing else. Then, because we are on Friday, we'll look into what could happen next week. Monday, Swiss CPI, ISM manufacturing PMI. We do have Aussie cash rates to be released, so watch out for that. Will we see another surprise rate hike to come from the RBA? I'll tell you more about that on Tuesday. Well, no, on Monday. Because Tuesday that's at 12:30, so it's going to be before our session. We have OPEC meetings on Wednesday, FOMC meeting minutes, and then we do have employment numbers the non-farm payroll is to come on the 7th of July, on Friday for the US non-farm payroll numbers. Okay, so watch out for that. That's for next week. So you can see that for today, we do have a whole bunch of news to be released or already released and a whole bunch more to be released. But the main thing will be the core PCE price index. Might be looking at a little bit of a upward push. No, a downward push on the dollar, right? Might offset a little bit of the expectation for further rate hikes. But I think overall, dollar index could still trend to the upside. So let's look at the charts here. The dollar index today is the 30th of June. Okay, tested. So move that up. You can see that the last few times, right? 14th of June tested, big push back down. 15th of June came close, big push back down. Right now, again, testing. So last night tested, came back, consolidated. Over the last 2 hours, looking like it was trying to break out of this or break above this resistance level. Right now, what I'm looking for here on the dollar index will be, as we said, can it break out of this resistance? Okay, if it does break out of this resistance level, move this away for now, then I do have a bit of an interim level. So the next big resistance at 104.67, but I do have a dotted line around here at 103.73 or 103.80. Okay, because it is Friday and you see that there isn't any big news to be had, I think that this would be a reasonable near-term target. I'll take this downward trend line a bit, take it away because it's broken, it's not relevant anymore. And also if I added this upward trend line to show that upward move being supported. Okay, so why I'm pausing a little bit, why I'm thinking a little bit right now is thinking whether there is a chance for a deeper retracement, or when would we consider, this yellow box is getting in my way, when would we consider a deeper retracement? Okay, I think that point there. So what I'm looking for here on a dollar index will be for it to break that 103.40 level and climb towards 103.80, right? If it stays within this range, if it stays between 103.15 and 103.40, I wouldn't be too rushed to do anything. Only if it breaks down from this point, then I think we might see a sustained move to the downside. Okay, so what I'm saying is that it could be fluctuating along this range for a while, but what I'm looking for is for it to break up. If it fails to break up and it does come back down, needs to break below 103.15, then possibly that trend line as well before we could see further downside on the dollar index. Okay, so just to put this, I would say I'm looking for it to come in a little bit. Testing. Okay, I'll still hold that view. Okay, I'm just looking at it. I'm just looking at the price action, just wondering whether it's going to, what's the likelihood of it breaking? I think that it's early in the hour, so it could just sit there and push up later on. Either I can do Aussie Kiwi, just let me get to that shortly. So dollar index, I would say, if above 103.40 could trade up to 103.80. Okay. Sustained downside if below 103.50. Okay, but most likely it's going to trade within this range. I'm still looking for that upward push. Fair enough. If it's good, put it into the chat. Let me know it's good. Like, good. Okay. So with that, I'm expecting some dollar strength coming back into play. Then looking at the Kiwi dollar, right? Yesterday we were looking for this to break out the consolidation up to test that resistance before coming back down. Didn't go as high, so you guys probably sensed that I wasn't very happy with, trying to predict the retracements. It came up to that 23.6 level before trading back down again. So I'll take that away just to clean up the charts a little bit. Right now, it is fluctuating along this 0.60, just below 0.6090, which was this point here on the 9th of June. Okay, so what I'm looking for here is that dollar strength, it should push down. Why I'm hesitating is that there's an interim level. Okay, that's what you do. You could be looking for this to turn down, right? But I don't really want to get in too early, just because it's an interim level there. It's right in the middle between that support and resistance level. I would like to see this form to the downside. It's possibly going to consolidate along this range, but I like to see it form to the downside. If you were looking to sell this down, I would say below 6080, stop loss 20 pips, take profit 40 to the next support level at about 6040. Is that point there? I think that's reasonable. Okay, so we go with that. It's going to sit there. I think it's going to sit there, but overall push to the downside to come down. So okay, I'll be happy with that. 6080, 20 pip stop loss, 40 pip take profit. So 0.6080, stop loss 20, take profit 40. Go. Alrighty. Then next up, I would say on the Aussie dollar, that's forming up. So I did have a quick trade on the Aussie yesterday. Very quick, small trade. I was scalping it a little bit. Didn't hold it all the way down, right? I barely made a big dent on that. So because it didn't push up, right? It didn't push as high up. That's why we didn't see that strength pulling it back down again. So it just pushed up a little bit, tested that resistance before turning back down. I would hold this view. I'll maintain this view that as it struggles to break above that resistance level, we still could be looking at a downside on the Aussie dollar. Okay. Now I would be a little bit safer and say 6610. I wanted to break past this point here that we saw early today. Stop loss will be about 25 pips. Take profit about 55 to the downside. Okay, that 61.8 still holds. So that's fair. Okay. Relatively the same view, still looking at that dollar strength pushing it down, resistance holding that upside or limiting that upside. So I'll be looking for that 6610, stop loss 25, take profit 55. So 0.6610, stop loss 25, take profit 50. Tell us about gold on Oanda. Gold on Oanda. Okay, I'll do that. I have my gold chart. I'm not sure whether it's Oanda price feed. Does it matter? It's whichever price feed it is. Okay, so that's the Aussie. You know, why I'm hesitating on the Aussie and the Kiwi is just consolidating at that level. Dollar showing a little bit of a resistance. That resistance capping the dollar. Could look like a bit of a retracement before a push back up. Yeah, I'm still looking at it as a consolidation. Projection is for that push. Okay, that's fine. Then the US yen. I tell you, it hurts me. I missed out on this move on the US yen, right? So I was looking for it to come down further, for it to test and bounce back up. It came very close. It came very close, and the next moment it was bam, back up. Right, once it got to that point of 144 about 144.70, and I was watching it, I just thought it was too close to 145, so didn't manage to get into a trade on the US yen. It would have been a very nice setup, right? We just had it at 144.10. It came as low as 144.16 or 15 before bouncing back up. So miss that entry by 5 pips, but that happens. Don't feel like you have to rush into a trade. If you did get into it a bit late, next thing you would have seen is a big retracement back down. You might have closed out at a loss before it comes back up slightly, and then a big drop early today. Right now looking like it's pushing back up again. Val says, I was hoping for US yen to come lower too. Missed it too. It almost looks like we're trading together in one mind. So I'm very happy about that. But yeah, missed out on that trade. Right now, the question comes back to whether the US yen is going to break above this 145 round number resistance level. I haven't got I'll move this to this point here. Because it touched, I can tell you that there was probably a lot of orders at this 145 level, anticipating that the Bank of Japan was going to intervene right as the US yen touches 145. So possibly a lot of sell orders right at that point, thinking that it gets there, Bank of Japan intervenes, and we see a big drop. Right? It did drop, not as much as would have expected. Right now, looking like a push back up. So at this point here, the question again is, can it come up? Can it break above this point? Okay. Again, checking back on the dollar. You see, dollar is actually retracing, right? Testing that resistance, turning back down a little bit. So it's a little bit surprising to see the US yen still pushing to the upside. I don't think we're going to see that retracement this time around. I don't think we're going to see a retracement. I think it's going to fluctuate along this level, going to consolidate along this level. I'll be looking for it to break above 145. Okay, I'll be looking for it to break above 145. Just check on the H4 time frame for, because I do have a next resistance of 146.50. We do have a bit of a point there, but let me just check that. Hi, PM, how you doing? That's very close at 145.20. Okay, so you can see that we put in this dotted line when we looked at it on H4 time frame. So I would say that maybe what we could be looking at on the US yen is a buying opportunity above 145.20. So 145.30. Take profit towards 146 or 73 pip, 70 pip. Take profit, stop loss, you could go for 30 pips, right? Just below that 145 support level, right? It could even be a little bit wider, I think. Even a 35 pip stop loss could be reasonable there. Okay, so we're looking for this to push up. I think that if we look for it to retrace before going back up, we might miss trade again. So right now, I would rather be sitting out, waiting for it to break that resistance, give it a little bit more space. 145.30, 70 pip take profit. You could go for 120, 115 pip take profit and consider 146 right there. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so I'll be saying that on the US yen, I'll say 145.30. Stop loss about 35. Take profit about 115. But watch out at 146. Okay, so why I say watch out at 146 is because we might see price come towards 146 and start retracing, right? Might do something like that, test and come back down. And that move was about 60 pips, right? That retracement here was about 60 pips. So that's why I'm saying watch out at 146. It might retrace before coming back up. I think that, yeah. Okay, so this is how I would be looking at the US yen, is that if it does push up, trigger our trade, and it goes up, I would most likely close out my trade at 146. I wouldn't look for that retracement and all that. I'm only looking, why have my take profit at about 146.50 is because I'm just thinking if it does break a big strong push, I could maximize on it. But if not, at 146, I'll close out. Okay, so I hope it makes sense to you on how I would do the US yen. So as we looked at the Aussie and the US yen, then let's look at the Aussie yen. Because Peter was just asking about it. So Aussie yen, we do have a push support to the upside, a trend line to the upside. Watch this, that's going to get quite interesting. We do have that, right? So expecting the yen, the US yen to push up, looking at the Aussie dollar maybe coming back down. That's going to counteract on the, or going to offset the movement on the Aussie yen. But I think that if it does break out of that upward trend line, we might see it climb up towards 96.40, which is not very far away. Okay, which is not very far away. If you look at this, we bought it up, it's only 30 pips. So I wouldn't be looking at that. I would say that if it does break out, then you'll be looking at that point of whether it could break above that resistance for further upside. Okay. Yeah. So you look for that, for it to break up, and then with the next, I don't like the previous levels are all so near together. That's my problem with this. Or what you could be looking at here is on the Aussie Yen. If it breaks out, so 96.10, take profit, 65 pips, stop loss height at about 30, just below that level. Then you could also consider, if it's going to break above this point at 30. So you're looking at a 1:1, or at best a 1:2 risk reward ratio to the upside there for the Aussie Yen. Okay, hope it makes sense to you there, Peter, on the Aussie Yen. Good question. Then, hi Lydia, I will get to Euro Yen, Pound Yen. Just hang on there. Buba as well, I'll get into Pound Yen after I look at the Pound Dollar. So Pound Dollar had a big push. I can tell you that I was watching, right? I was sitting there at 2 p.m. When this was a nice red candle. When this was a nice red candle, I know that our trade yesterday did not trigger, so I was just sitting there going, okay, because our trade didn't trigger, if this does come down and does break below that support, maybe that's going to give us that downward push, right, to the downside. Okay, but didn't happen. It's actually came down, tested support, and bounced back up. So on the pound dollar right now, good strong push back up. I would say that it looks like I found the support level. I found quite a strong support level, and it's tested one time, two times, third time. Not ready to get into a trade yet. A little bit risky to rush into a trade right now. And I'll move this up to here, which is very close. And think about whether this could break and push back up. We are looking at the dollar index sitting right across. Pound dollar sitting, pushing back up. Okay. The more aggressive move will be if it breaks above this point, then I'll look to trade it up. But I would say that it is Friday, it is the end of the week, it is the end of the month. If you have profits, let's be a bit more sensible about it. If you haven't been making profits, let's be even more sensible about it. I don't think it would be a day to take extra risk. So I wouldn't be looking to buy this up from that 1.2655 level. I would say watch what happens. If it does push up, look at what happens at that resistance. Okay? Because it's coming very close, I do think it's going to break. I think it's going to push higher. I would be more keen to see if it breaks this resistance level at 1.27. What I think is possibly going to happen is, or what I would rather be looking for is, at this point, you do have both that upside and or that downside potential. Okay, so watch at 1.27. If it breaks up, you could be looking for 1.2710. Take profit about 60 pips. Stop loss about 25 pips. If it tests and fails to break 1.27, then I would sell down 1.2680. Stop loss gain about 30 pips. Take profit about 70 pips to the downside. Okay, so super patient on the pound dollar for now. Let's see how far it's going to bounce and whether it's going to be a sustained bounce or a test and reject. So 1.2710, 25 pip stop loss, 60 pip take profit. Look for reaction at 1.27. Okay, we can be looking to buy at 1.2710. Stop loss was about 25, take profit about 55, 60 pips. Profit at about 60. Or sell at 1.2680. Sell 1.2680. Stop loss, I would say, is 30 pips to 75. That's fine. Stop loss will be 30. Take profit will be 75. So let's see what happens at 1.27 price level. Okay, dollar index found right sitting right across. So I try to go down, try to go up, try to go down, sitting right across for now. I think it still needs some time for the move to develop. We do have both upside or downside potential here on the pound dollar. Then looking at the euro dollar, it did push up, right? It did push up. I did lose money on this, so I did get into that trade. Didn't manage to didn't close out, but I didn't take a whole stop loss. It came down to that 1.09. I think at about 1.0920, I closed out because it showed that downward push. So I closed out quite early on that. Lost a bit of money on the euro dollar. Not super happy. Okay, but given that right now it's pushing back down, so it came down to very close to this support level. Looking at the dollar sitting right across, I think that if you look at this dollar showing at pin bar, so it pushed up, came back down a little bit, and showing that pin bar right now, it's almost an inverse of this, where you can see that euro dollar had a big push, came back up, and then now we're showing a pin bar, possibly to the downside, right? So I think what will be interesting is that we could see the euro dollar come down slightly to test this support level of 1.0850. Right? I want to see that happen again. Right? I want to see that happen again. Then look for that bounce back up. So looking for a repeat of what happened last week on Friday, where it tested and bounced. So I'm looking for it to test and bounce back up. This is contrary to what we were expecting, or what we are expecting on the dollar for it to strengthen, right? So if the dollar does weaken, then we're going to see this bounce back up. So you could have an opportunity here. This is a little bit speculative. I would say that we could be looking at about 1 point. So it needs to come down, bounce, and turn back up. 1.0860. Take profit could be 50 pips. Stop loss will be very tight, about 20 pips. It does need to come down, test the support, and bounce back up. If it does break, then it's straightforward. We can be looking to sell it down to that next support level at 1.07. So let's look at that. Euro dollar could be looking for this to buy at 1.0860, stop loss 20, take profit. 1.0860, stop loss 20, take profit. Was it 60 or 50? 50. There we go. Okay, I would also highlight that this is counter trend on DXY. Makes sense so far? Next, let's ask, give us a little bit more insight into the decision-making process to close out that trade in a loss-making position. Okay, so on the euro dollar, what I did here, because it wasn't a big, I can't remember where the line was now, right? So it's something like that we're looking at. Because it wasn't a very big, strong push, and also because we had that near-term resistance. So as that happened, and then I saw the dollar index strengthening, pushing back up. So as I saw this turn back down, just close out the trade. There are many different reasons why you close out a trade early, but for me at that point, it looks like it was going to come down to test that support level or resistance turn support level. So I decided, instead of waiting for it to go down and hit my stop loss, I was going to get out of it just to minimize on my, rather secure the monthly profits, minimize on the loss for that trade. Okay. So answer your question there, Nick. So with that, then looking at the pound yen, right? So pound dollar, we're looking at this possibly pushing up, looking for it to go up to that 1.27 level. US yen pushing up, looking for it to break above 145. Then pound yen, look at it. So we were thinking that it's going to bounce around this range. We were thinking possible head and shoulder formation, right? Same thing. Last hour, I was thinking if it does come down, maybe the next hour it's going to break and form that head and shoulder pattern to the downside. It has not happened, so that's been invalidated. Take that away. Okay, and I'll take that away as well. So right now, pound yen, it is still, that's not support, that's a resistance level. Right, it's still within that range. It hasn't broken out that range yet. We have 12 minutes for the hour to close. You could be looking for it to close out of this resistance level at 183. Then as a quick trade up, you could be looking at 133 dot, be a bit safer, 133.20. Take profit 50 pips, stop loss tight 25 pips, 1 to 2 to the upside. This is if we see, especially if we see that dollar index pushing up, if we see the pound dollar continue with this upward push, US yen continuing to push up. I like this quite a bit actually. So you could be looking at the pound yen breaking above 183, then you could be looking to get in 183.20, take profit about 50, stop loss about 25. All right. Then onto the euro yen. So euro dollar trading down, US yen still pushing to the upside. Euro yen found support not resistance, found support at that, actually at that 157 level, and now pushing back up. I'll say found support at 157, now pushing back up. I think that it could go up, but I don't think that it would be a reasonable trade to get into, right? Because my stop loss will be about almost 50 pips, at the best 40. My take profit will be about 60 at the best. I don't think it'd be worth that. So Euro Yen, I think that you might want to, if you're looking to trade this, I think that it could go up. You might want to scalp it up, or you watch it go up, look for a test of that resistance at 158. If it breaks above, could look to get further upside, especially if we do see the euro dollar bounce and push up, then that's going to, and the US yen continuing to push up, then that's going to support the view for further upside on the euro yen. So I would rather sit there, wait it out. Only if it breaks above 158, then I'll be looking for further upside potential. Okay, fair enough. Hope it makes sense for you, Lydia and Buba, asking about the pound yen and the euro yen. Then onto the US Swiss franc. We were looking for a double top, breaking of the neckline. It did break, it came down about 15 pips before bouncing straight back up. Why it's bouncing back up is really because of that dollar strength. Right now, still climbing back up with that resistance at 0.9. Right, so we saw that resistance level there twice. Now looking like it's going to retest. What would be interesting is I'll be looking for that reaction. So you see a test and slight push back down, test, a big push, same thing here. So since the 20th, so from this last couple of days, it's been testing that level and turning back down. Right now, coming back up again. If it does break, then you could see 0.9045 or 0.9050. Quite likely with the way the dollar is pushing up. So what I'll be looking for would be buying at about 9010, 30 pip take profit, tight 15 pip stop loss. So what you need to do here is wait for it to close above this resistance, right? It needs to close above that point. That's my dotted line there. It needs to close above this area. That's why I got it 19010 for 30 pips and 15 pips. So relatively small move because we do have the resistance quite nearby. So something to watch out for. So I would be buy 0.9010, stop loss 15, take profit 30 to the upside. Okay, and then onto the US CAD. Remember again, today we do have Canadian GDP to be released, was 0, expected 0.2. Okay, so looking at the US CAD, if it does come out at 0.2, we might see some strength on the Canadian dollar. However, that dollar strength is still ever present. The resistance now, support. And by the way, guys, if you are watching and you're finding this good and useful, do help me out. Click that rocket ship button on TradingView and also that thumbs up button on YouTube. And if you haven't already, follow me on TradingView. I do post up the summaries, so do follow that. My profile is there. Okay. US CAD dollar strength should push this to the upside. Might see it test back down with the GDP number. I think that I just don't like this big area here. I'm just looking at this at that 50% level. So what you would be looking for is if the dollar does continue to strengthen, then you could be looking for, it's possibly going to trade within this range. What I think is more likely to happen is it's just going to bounce within this range. But what we're looking for is a breakout. Then you could be looking to buy it up 1.3290, take profit 55, stop loss 25, or even 20 pips. There you go. Okay, so 1.3290, 20 to 55, that makes sense. Okay, that's good. So I could be looking at a dollar strength pushing this up. I'll be looking at 1.3290. 1.3290, stop loss 25, take profit, not 25, yeah, 20, take profit. Profit. There we go. Okay, dollar strength still pushing to the upside. And then, like a few of you have been asking about gold. We were looking at this yesterday. I was saying consolidation. We're going to test that resistance before turning back down. It did that within the hour. So it tested up, right? At 6, 7 sat there, 9 o'clock came, or 8 o'clock came straight back down and then back up again. So still considered as a test and now pushing back down. I would change this and say that still further downside on gold, 1903 dot, oh, it's coming down, it's almost there. So I would say that I would actually be looking for gold to continue below, this point, 1903. If it breaks below 1903, I think that it would have gained a bit more momentum to the downside towards the 1887 level. However, if it doesn't break 1903, then you see a bit of a shoulder head, and if it does bounce around here, you could see a bit of a shoulder. Inverted head and shoulder might signal a push back up, but that's going to have to mean that the dollar is going to have to weaken, right, to push this back up. So looking at the way the dollar is going, if it does break above this resistance, then I would be more tempted to say that as much as we might have a inverted head and shoulder forming up, looks like it's going to break and trade down to the 1887 level. Okay, so below 1903, could trade down to 1887. Yep. Elliot and Alizar just answered your question there on gold. Okay, so new hour, dollar index pushed up to the resistance again, testing. Haven't broken yet, so be a bit patient there. Kiwi dollar, bit of a doji, looking like a bit of a push back up. So not ready yet. Aussie dollar not ready either. US yen getting there almost. Pound dollar getting there, pushing back up. There's a lot more to wait for, so just sit there and, like Val says, be calm, wait it out. I appreciate that, Val. Thank you very much. Thanks, Goju. Euro dollar, I've been looking, needs to come down. Either way, if it does come down and bounce, you could look to buy it up, or you could just be looking to, sell this down 1.0840, stop loss 20 pips, take profit could be massive to the downside, about 60 pips to the downside there. US Swiss franc looking like it's trying to break that resistance. Not something I would trade, but something you can watch out for. And then US CAD possibly going to continue fluctuating along that range. Alrighty. So again, guys, if you can, put it into the chat. I know you guys on YouTube are fantastic. Put it in. Say which part of this session you enjoyed the most. If you have any feedback, let me know. And if not, make sure you do join the Discord channel and take our discussions there. It is the last day of the month, so please remember, trade well, trade safe. I'll see you all next month, which is on Monday. Same time, same place for the daily market analysis. For now, bye-bye.